like you said, this networking and collaborations is very important part of the of a PhD life. I coming from the IIT, I have a sufficient fund. I can at least attend one conference or one workshop outside the India. I have that much of fund, but most of the universities don't provide this. How do you tackle this problem, or how would you suggest or advise a PhD student who is in research, doing research from those universities, but they want to make collaborations, but they do not have funds to attend the conferences and workshops? Because this is actually very important part of the PhD life.
Yeah, so I think one aspect is if you are working on a specific problem, right?
Hmm.
And when you have taken it to a publication level, right? You sometimes put your paper on archive and sometimes, it is accepted. And if you feel that you can connect that paper and if it's a good publication but requires additional amount of data, additional amount of ideas, and you can try to reach out to some experts in that field. You introduce yourself, introduce your publications. Of course, I would say 70-80% of the time you might not hear any response, but it's something that might put you in touch with these people if they are if they find your publication interesting. So I'll tell you the same about ESO studentship. uh, so when I wrote, I think I was working on some project and I had written an email to my ESO co-supervisor that I'm working on this problem and I noticed one of the papers that you were author and I think I would like to have that data set. It is not available and something. And I did not get a response. She was actually not the first author. I think I wrote to both of them and probably there was a miscommunication or they just ignored, right? It's just an email from a student. Uh, then when I wrote an email maybe a year later regarding ESO studentship to my co-supervisor, uh, she responded, right? And then when I actually went there, she told me that I saw two emails from you when you wrote about this ESO studentship. I noticed that I had another email from you, which I never responded. But I saw that you had two emails. One was asking about data, and then 1 year later, you were asking about ESO studentship. And then see, because in my studentship email, I had listed publications that actually used some data similar to their papers and that kind of thing. So they noticed that, okay, this guy was actually working on some data that we also published, and then he was actually able to take that up to publication without our response and without our data. So then they notice these small things, right? If people just write an email to me, okay, I want to do a PhD project with you with no background, nothing, I'm most likely going to ignore it. But maybe once there is something, some concrete information there, then you are likely to get a response. So I think that's how you can try to build networks. If you go to even one conference, you still meet many different people. Try to interact with them. Just introduce yourself. Um, Show one plot that you feel is relevant to So sometimes it's, of course, don't be annoying, but just in casual interactions with people, just introduce yourself, talk to them if you are interested, seriously interested in collaborating with someone. Go through their work, discuss their work. That I'm also trying to work something like that. Do you have any specific projects, data set that you think we can work on? And I think this is how you try to reach out to people. It's very difficult in academia because now that I'm a faculty, I receive hundreds of emails every week that we want to do projects. I can only take 2-3 students for a master's thesis. I can't have 10. So it's very difficult. So sometimes I always try to respond, but sometimes you are too busy to just respond.
Okay, great advice to all the university PhDs who try to make collaborations with
Another thing is that
foreign
start
countries.
exploring for the conferences. Always see if there is some funding, you know, because a lot of these big conferences, they do support some students from, especially
Okay.
from developing countries. I think I went probably quite a few conferences where I got accommodation support, where I got
Yes, yes.
tuition fee waiver. Then, of course, for not everybody can afford airfare, not everybody can afford some things, but even if you have to pay 10, 20,000 from your own pocket, I think it's the fellowship is now sufficiently good if you don't have any specific responsibility. So if
Yes.
you can spend 20,000, 30,000 to go abroad and spend 1 week also for science as well as a tourist, I think it's
Correct,
worth
correct.
it.